Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to the Don't Wait for Your Wake-Up Call podcast. I'm so excited that you are here with me again today. And if you recall, in the last episode, I talked to you about the importance of detoxing the inside of our body, and that it isn't enough just to take a shower and wash the outside of our body and think that is health. So today, I'm so excited to bring to you a guest who has recently completed my 21-day detox program, and she wanted to share her story. And I am bringing to you the lovely Reverend Cristina Paglinauan, and she is also an Episcopal priest, and she has now become a dear friend of mine, and her story is truly inspirational. So welcome, Cristina.
Hi, it's so good to be with you, Melissa. Thanks for inviting me to be part of this.
It's my pleasure. I would love for you to share with the listeners where you were at when we first connected, which wasn't that long ago. It was only several months ago.
Yeah, it kind of blows me away that it wasn't that long ago. So I believe it was in the winter of last year, just a few months ago, maybe fall, where I was really struggling. As I know, I've shared with you, somewhere in the spring of 2018 is when I first started what many women know of as the change. But really becoming conscious of my transitioning into midlife in terms of what was happening with my body, among other things, and struggling with perimenopausal changes. And so I was very conscious of that happening in 2018 and had done a couple of things that had helped, including going on a wellness retreat and finding a really wonderful and competent and knowledgeable GYN. But when you and I first talked on Zoom, I had slid back, I had backslid and was struggling again, really struggling with sleep, not sleeping at all, really struggling with my mood throughout the day, experiencing a lot of shifts, swings of anxiety and depression, feeling just very out of control of my whole body, mind, and spirit, and just really struggling. And I would say, again, those two things, struggling with sleep and struggling with mood, were the top two things. And then also the heat, the hot flashes that were a combination of heat and anxiety all together. And so was really struggling again a few months ago. And so that was the context of when we first met. And again, our mutual colleague and friend, who's also a certified integrative health coach and practitioner, Anne Crook, was the person who had completed the 21-day detox program with you several months prior, and knew of my own struggles. She's been such a support throughout the entire time, and said that she knew that it was the thing that I needed to do, that she couldn't think of she just felt it was important that I try the same detox program that she had gone through with you.
And of course, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but Anne Crook was the guest of episode 2 on this podcast. So it's just a beautiful connection right there.
Very much.
And so let's just talk about, how does life feel when you're not sleeping? Because there's so many people out there that struggle with poor sleep. There's, every woman goes through menopause. There's so many women that are going through this right now that perhaps don't realize that there are things that we can be doing to naturally support the body and bring the body back into balance so they don't have to suffer through. And, we do a very good job of teaching our, prepubescent girls in school about their menstrual cycle, et cetera, but there isn't a platform for teaching women what they're going to go through at the other end of their, procreational cycle, right? And so people are suffering silently. And, people would have heard in my first episode that I suffered with, a shift in my migraines at that point. And then I went back and did more lab testing to figure out what was going on. And testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone had got up and left my body. And so I needed to supplement to bring my body back into balance so I could alleviate those migraines and alleviate symptoms of menopause. So that's where you were at in yourself, but how is it impacting your life? You're a mom, you have a job, you're an important, pillar in your community. How is it affecting your life?
Oh, I mean, I'm so thankful that I'm able to look backward now and say, this is how, I'm feeling so good now that I need to remember. And so, how awful I was feeling, because it's night and day and it hasn't been that long, but it's awful. I felt, in hindsight, I was a ghost of myself. And I, and some, and it's torture. I mean, I know that sounds very dramatic, and maybe I'm just not made of strong stuff, and some people just kind of can power muscle through it. But that period is just awful, to be sleep deprived for an extended period of time when you're supposed to be functioning during the day. And as many of us do, we're juggling families with jobs, with Corona tide, with XYZ. And so just a ghost of myself, I would say. In the Wizard of Oz movie, when Dorothy lands in Oz and all of a sudden everything becomes color, right? But up until that point in Kansas, it's black and white. That's the kind of difference it feels like,
And it's a great analogy and a very profound difference. And I hear people say, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or sleep is overrated. But the reality is our human body truly needs sleep, 7 to 9 hours every night. And that's when our body detoxes. It's when our body rejuvenates and heals. And when we're not getting that sleep, there's so many things that our body isn't getting that it needs. And over time, that leads to you feeling a ghost of yourself. And it's breaking down the health of our organs, which again, we can't see, so we don't realize. So I'm so happy for you for the results that you've had and that you were able to find solutions, because again, many people are out there struggling, looking for solutions and not sure where to turn. The problem today is that we do live in a toxic world. And it's not something people talk about often, but with over 100,000 toxins introduced since World War II, and poor sleep, and high stress, and potentially poor nutrition, it does cause the functionality of our body to break down. And this can lead to people feeling ghosts of themselves, brain fog and fatigue and, gut issues, because poor sleep and high stress, we know, breaks down the gut. Then we're not breaking down our food properly, which means we're not getting the vitamins and minerals into our cells to give us energy. So it's all interrelated.
And I'd love to, if I could just interrupt for one quick second, when I mentioned sleep and I mentioned the mood struggles with anxiety and depression, and then the heat and the heat as well, I would say I did not say the word energy, but that completely, you nailed it. Just no energy, lack of energy. So, if I could get just a handful of hours in the day where I felt like I had some kind of energy to do something. I mean, every day was a struggle in terms of energy and just not having any of it. Now I can bound up the stairs like I used to. I never thought I would do that again. I thought, well, this is just my life now. I have to kind of plod up the stairs in my house. It's just incredible. And thank you. It was about energy. It's all about energy.
It is about energy. And it's funny that you say that you never thought you could get back to this and you thought this is what your life was going to be like. And
I did.
I just want to let people know that don't give up. When we have hope, we can continue looking for what it is that we need in order to be able to heal. And too often we write things off as aging, as genetics, as seasonal allergies, etc. And that is really kind of the point of my Discover Your Toxic Load quiz. Because as people start going through that quiz and it's talking about different symptoms and the way that our body talks to us, it's a bit of an aha that you mean I can do something about this?
Right.
I don't have to just accept it. Right. And that's the reality, is we absolutely can do things about this. And again, we're just often not taught through public health and mainstream medicine, because their guidance is to, get you out of pain. But very often they're getting you out of pain by masking symptoms rather than actually allowing the body to come back into balance and truly heal.
And as opposed to feeling like I am at the mercy of my body, that I am totally out of control of what's happening in my body, which is exactly how I felt just a few months ago. I now feel like I'm working in partnership with my body. I feel like I am in a dialogue and a conversation with my body, mind, and spirit. I don't feel like I'm at the mercy of something that's beyond my control. And it's just been a profound shift.
And that's hugely empowering, right? You just gave me full body goosebumps when you said that, which for me is when I know the truth has been spoken.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely what it is. And, when I work with clients, especially through the detox, but at any program we do, I'm working on the awareness of learning to listen to our body. Because you can work in partnership with your body. But the thing is that modern life just has us in this busy, go world where we don't slow down enough to listen, and we don't notice the signs and the symptoms when we're in that place. And it's not until there's some generally triggering event that causes us to take action in our healing journey. And then at that point, we learn to tap in and listen to our body talking to us, which doesn't matter when it happens. I just want it to happen, because when we do that, then moving forward, we have that knowledge for life, right?
And obviously and I know you and I have talked about this, it's not just about us in the end, right? I mean, it's where it starts, but we're talking about all the people that we care about. We're talking about all the people that expect us, need us to show up with our best selves. And when I was feeling like a ghost of myself, I was barely, I had so much less to give other people. And so that's, it's all about that too.
So it has that negative spin-off effect on how you can't give as much to other people. And so then their lives are impacted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so stepping into this healing journey is absolutely an act of self-love and self-care. And my favorite quote for self-care is that it is the most selfless act, because when we show up and give the world the best of us, instead of showing up and giving the world what's left of us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do that, then now we have a positive ripple effect out into the world instead of that negative ripple effect. And energy feeds energy as well. So when we're putting out good energy, we're also able to receive good energy. I love that. So I know you're actually having a fasting day today.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So I'd love you to tell me why you've decided to do that, and
Sure.
how that benefits you.
Sure. And I need to say that I am not the only person fasting at my parish. I've invited several other folks at the Church of the Redeemer in Baltimore to be part of this fasting once a week during the season of Lent. And so there are several of us at Redeemer who are fasting today. But I really committed after my 21-day detox program experience with you, which includes 3 weekends of fasting for 2 days in a row, right? If I remember right.
Yes, I'll just explain that.
Yeah.
It's 6 days through the program. So
Yes.
2 days of each week. Doesn't have to be a weekend. We work that out for each individual schedule.
That's right.
But through the 3 weeks, 2 days a week for a total of 6 days of fasting. So yes.
Yes. So having completed that and really experienced, to my surprise, and I know it's not this way for everyone, but the days that I felt the best, that I had the most energy, that I felt the most vibrant were my fasting days, where my body was not using up energy to digest food, but it was getting the nutrients that it needed through this shake that comes as part of the program. I was just so struck by how good I felt on the fasting days. And again, through the education that comes as part of the program and the podcasts of Dr. Cabral, that I think it's podcast 1818, that talks about the benefits of fasting and what's happening in your body when you're fasting for 12 hours and 24 hours and other hours. I just really committed and have made a commitment to myself to fast 1 day a week, not just during Lent, even though Lent is a wonderful, and makes sense. It's part of our ancient tradition to fast during Lent, but even beyond Lent, just once a week, I am committed to fasting 1 day a week. And I'm feeling, again, this is a fasting day for me, and I'm feeling lots of energy, feeling really good. And then every season, so once a quarter, I'm committed to doing a 7-day detox, which will include 2 days of fasting. So it's just, it doesn't feel like a sacrifice. I used to think of fasting as in a whole different way than I do now. I just, it feels doable, it just feels completely doable. And then B, not only does it feel doable, but it just makes me feel so good, body, mind, spirit good. It isn't just the energy. I've also find it's the clarity of thinking, my brain fog, and just feeling like a ghost in the world is no longer how I feel. And so that clarity and vibrancy seems to be particularly true on the fast days. And again, I know that's not what everyone experiences, but that's just been my experience. So.
Well, I love that. And I love that commitment that you have made to yourself. As you said, it's not what everyone experiences, but again, you are listening to your body, and each of us is unique in how we need to be, feeding our body and looking after our body. And so you are doing what is absolutely right for you. And the reality is that I was trained by Dr. Stephen Cabral that you mentioned with that podcast 1818 that he does. And he created the Integrative Health Practitioner Organization, which is where I did all of my training. And what we recommend is that people start with a 21-day detox, and that quarterly they do the 7-day detox, because we can't avoid the toxins in our world today. We can get them out, but then more are going to come in. And so when we continue to do the 7-day quarterly detox, we're getting out what's come in over the last 3 months. But then doing either, some people want to do weekly, some people want to do it just once a month on the months in between, is that 1-day fast as well, because of the benefits of giving the body that time to get out of digestion and get into cleaning house and cleaning out all the dead cells, the damaged cells, which then triggers the growth of new cells, which helps boost energy, boost vitality, while cleaning out toxins that have been left in the digestive tract that we need to move out of the body. And so, a lot of people talk about different kinds of fasts, but, some people even talk about doing water fasts. But you mentioned something to me the other day as one of your greatest takeaways from doing this particular program. And I would love you to share that.
Sure. I think what I remember us talking about is what I love about this program is that during the fast days, we are still providing our bodies what we need in terms of nutrients, essential nutrients. So we're not depleting our body. We're simply giving our bodies a chance to rest from the act of digesting food. But clearly our bodies still need nutrients in order to function. And so the fast days through this program enable our bodies to receive the nutrients and the vitamins and the support that it needs in order to detox and take out all the trash through this, through this shake powder that everyone's encouraged to get as part of the program. So again, it's you don't feel depleted because your body's still getting what it needs.
Exactly. And so for some people, as we go into the program, because day 1 and 2 is always fasting days. And some people may actually feel a little bit low energy those days and feel a little bit depleted. And that's totally normal because the body is used to getting food and now it's not getting food. It's getting a liquid shake. But what is interesting is that for many people, their digestive system is compromised. As I said earlier, their gut is out of balance. The bacteria is not working symbiotically as well as it could be to break down the food. And so the food that they're eating isn't being absorbed into the bloodstream. But when we put it into the body in the form of a shake that's super easily digested and absorbed, many people are actually getting more nutrients into their bloodstream than if they were actually eating food. And so that is really a win of this particular program. So,
and if you're someone who likes chocolate, and I am one of those people, that's another thing that I have to confess is that it also didn't feel like a sacrifice at all because I was just drinking liquid chocolate 4 times a day. So
because there is a chocolate shake and a vanilla shake.
And there's a vanilla
there
one,
you go.
Right.
So it was almost like a treat 4 times.
It really, I have to confess, it was a treat for me because it was chocolate. So what's wrong with this? Nothing.
That's awesome. So you not only did the detox with me, but you also did the 4-week health kickstart and detox program, which had 4 weeks of group training involved in it. Yes. I just love your experience on that program.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm being so involved in the church as I am, it's all about relationships, right? I mean, I don't know, relationships, it's not just about just to be human, right? Is to be in relationship with other people. And none of us, I think, are meant to suffer or travel along the way alone. And so it makes so much sense to embark on this kind of journey and experience with other people. And it was absolutely true in this case, to know that, Susie in Alaska and Jim in Texas and Pam in British Columbia, that we're all in this together for this amount of time, that we've all committed to taking care of ourselves, and that we've all been struggling and have gotten to the point where we need to do something, is just incredible. It's empowering. And even, we're all still in this pandemic. So obviously we're all meeting on Zoom, but it's been a silver lining, right? To be able to meet with people around the country, around the world, who are sharing a common experience, and really to be able to support one another and to learn together, and to hear other people's stories. It's one thing to know your own story, but then to hear that, Jim's cholesterol levels have improved dramatically because of this 21-day detox, and that Susie, who has been feeling awful for 20 years, as a result of this 21-day detox program, is now feeling better than she has in a long time. So to hear other people's witness, other people's stories is really helpful and inspiring as well.
And I love what you mentioned about Zoom there too, is that ability to connect, right?
Yep.
And, we also had the private Facebook group, and there was some sharing of recipes, and we just have the technology today to be able to do that. And that is a blessing, because if we have to be in a pandemic, I'm very grateful that we have all of these tools.
Absolutely.
And certainly
for those people who do, again, one of the things I'm very aware of is how the technology divide, right, is a very real thing. And so that's something that I continue to, that to be aware of, that for folks for whom this kind of connection is impossible because technology is not available.
Right. And actually for some people in the program that didn't have all the technology, the sessions were recorded. They did have email. I was able to email them the recordings, and they were able to. So I tried as best I could to accommodate everyone. And I think the other piece of the group aspect is that is the accountability, right?
Yes,
you're showing
absolutely.
up for yourself, but you're also showing up for them, because after that first session, you've started to build that relationship. And so that's a really important piece here as well, because for some people starting out, 21 days sounds like an eternity, right?
Yes, it's true. Absolutely.
And so just getting going and showing up those first 2 weeks is, very, very powerful. So I love that. So we're just getting to the end here, and I have 2 questions that I would love to ask you to share your thoughts on. And the first one is, what does "don't wait for your wake-up call" mean to you?
Well, what that says to me is don't wait until things are so bad that and you've been suffering for such a long time that it's almost too late. When you say the word wake-up call, it means, literally it means, right, that you've been asleep. You haven't been conscious, and then something happens to jar you out of sleep. And the whole point, I think, of my learning is that you don't have to be jarred by some awful life event or some dramatic health occurrence to be able to take charge of your own health in some very basic ways. You don't need to wait to have a heart attack. You don't need to wait to be diagnosed with cancer or XYZ. That's what that says to me,
That's awesome. And I fully agree. And that's my mission of this podcast, is to, and, for the whole world to start recognizing that health truly is our true wealth. And that when we prioritize it, we have the energy to do everything that we want to do. And we can get out there and be that best version of ourselves. But if we don't prioritize it, then things do start to go sideways. And things went sideways for you. And you found some ways of helping yourself move forward, and then slip back and move forward again. But now you have some learning of what your body loves that you can do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And when we step into that, then we truly can be empowered. And that's what I want for everyone.
Yeah, me too.
And what message would you like to leave with the audience to inspire them to take action in their health journey?
What's interesting, what's coming to me now isn't what I had planned to say. So I'm always aware of when that happens. But this whole journey has made me really appreciate in a new way how incredible our human bodies are, what gifts they are. In religious, spiritual language, we talk about our bodies being the temples, right, of the spirit. I think whatever religion or non-religion that can resonate, right? Our bodies are incredible. And so to really take care of them the way that, say, one would a temple, if that was important to you, right? And realizing, again, the inside and the outside, the whole thing, and that we really have the tools that we need and the information and the knowledge, this wealth of information on how to take care of our bodies. And if you believe, like I believe, that it's body, mind, spirit, it's all connected, right? So when you're taking care of your body, you're not just taking care of your body, you're also taking care of your mind and your spirit. And when you're taking care of your body, mind, spirit, you're also taking care of the people who you love and care for, and your community and your neighbors, because that's ultimately what you have to give to everybody is yourself. So I've just been so recommitted to taking care of this amazing thing that I have, my body, mind, spirit. And I'm really the only person that, if I don't make that a priority, I mean, who else is going to, right?
Yeah, that's very true. Is that really we are the only ones that can look after our own body. And when you mention it being a temple, again, full wave of goosebumps through my body. And it just reminded me of an analogy that I use sometimes, that, we're very proactive in taking care of our car. We take our car in for oil changes and, regular services, right? And yet we don't for our body. But we were taught that we had to do that for our car. Haven't really been taught, actively taught that we need to look after our body on the inside as well. Body, mind, and spirit.
Right. And just to build on your analogy, none of us who own cars could imagine putting sludge into our cars for fuel, right? We're also cognizant and conscious about putting the kind of fuel into our cars that our cars need, right? Or else all sorts of junk and everything. I mean, the cars, and that's exactly what food is for us. And yet we'll, put whatever. I mean, so again, I'm really appreciating that analogy, because I am now really mindful of what I put into my body, how it translates into how I function. I mean, there's a direct corollary that is so much clearer to me now than before, and it's all about energy. It really, and realizing that so many of us, myself included, right, before this program, I would say, was not as conscious of all the different reasons that I eat, right, that I was eating before. And now I'm so much more conscious of the connection between energy and how I'm feeling energetically and what I've been putting into my body, all of that. And that's part of what's taught in the program. So very, very true. And it comes down to one of the things I say often, which is what you put on the end of your fork is either your best form of medicine or your slowest form of poison. And with the human body, we don't have the response time as quickly as we do with the car. If we put sludge in the car, we'd get in and try to start the car and the car just wouldn't start. It would be immediate, right? And our human body is more forgiving, which maybe it shouldn't be. Well, it's so resilient. That's right.
So resilient that it takes a lot longer for it to start talking to us.
Right.
And telling us, I don't like what you're doing. And so that's another saying that I love to share is that listen when your body whispers so it doesn't have to yell at you because it will.
Yeah.
If you ignore it, it will. It needs to get your attention to get you to make some change, right? And for each of us, it's different. So we need to figure that out. And having some guidance in figuring that out is obviously very helpful because not everyone has time to go to school and, spend, 3 years learning all of this intensely, right?
Right. That's right.
It can be shared through, live programs with the curated information that get you on the right path. So thank you so, so much for your time today. I've absolutely loved having you here and really appreciate your willingness to share your experience because I think there are many others out there that could well be in the same place that you were. And they might feel like they're all alone and they don't know what to do or where to turn. And I hope that this has inspired them, given them hope, and inspired them to take action.
Absolutely. That's if there's one last message, I think that's it. If you're struggling and you feel like you're that it's just can't get better, just to hang on and that you can do something about it. And this is one proactive step and that you're not alone. You're not alone and things can and will get better. So thank you, Melissa, for giving me the opportunity. That's why I agreed to do this and to share my story, is that if it can be helpful to even just one person, then it's worth it. So thank you so much. And thank you for your guidance and support and willingness to share your knowledge and expertise. It's just been a life changer, and so grateful that Anne connected us.
And thank you very much. And it's what I've been put on this planet to do. So nothing gives me greater joy than to guide people through this and see the results that they're getting. And so what I'm going to do is I'll put into the show notes the link to the Discover Your Toxic Load quiz, because that's a great quiz to do to get a starting point of where you're at, as well as the link to the April Health Kickstart and Detox program, so that if you want to check that out and learn more about it, you can go to the show notes and do that. So thank you again.
Right.
And until my next episode, be safe, stay healthy, and remember that health is your true wealth.